They called him weak so often that eventually it stopped sounding like an insult. It sounded like his name. Alexander, the weakest boy in the room. Not the slowest learner, not the dumbest, not even the poorest, just the easiest to break. And everyone enjoyed testing that theory. 1. The boy who never fought back. Alexander was small for his age, thin arms, slouched shoulders, a voice so quiet that teachers sometimes forgot he was present. At school, strength was currency, and Alexander had none. Bullies pushed him in corridors, took his lunch money, mocked his posture, his silence, his existence. "Stand straight, man. What are you scared of? Even the wind could knock you over." They laughed. Alexander never fought back. Not because he believed them, but because fighting back seemed pointless when the world had already chosen sides. At home, his father was ill, bedridden for years. His mother worked double shifts to keep the household running. Alexander learned early that survival required endurance, not noise. So he endured, quietly. 2. Weakness as entertainment. By high school, Alexander had developed an invisible presence. People talked around him, over him, about him, never to him. During sports, he was chosen last. During group projects, he was assigned the boring tasks. During arguments, his opinions vanished before reaching air. Once, during a physical training class, a teacher shook his head. "You need to toughen up, Alexander. Life won't be kind to weak men." The class laughed. Alexander lowered his eyes. That night, he stared at his reflection. Thin frame, tired eyes, no anger on the surface. But something shifted underneath. Not rage, awareness. 3. The moment no one noticed. The breaking point didn't come with a punch. It came with laughter. One afternoon, a group of boys locked Alexander in the equipment room as a joke. They laughed outside, recording videos, making sure the moment would live forever online. Inside the dark room, Alexander sat on the cold floor. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He thought about how powerless he felt, about how no one would come, about how weak meant disposable. When the door finally opened, no apology followed, just laughter. That night, Alexander made a decision he would never announce. He would stop being visible while weak and become invisible while growing strong. 4. Strength begins in silence. Alexander didn't suddenly change. There were no dramatic speeches, no confrontations. He simply started training, not for show, for survival. Early mornings, push-ups on a cracked floor, running when his lungs burned, reading when his body collapsed, learning when others slept. He trained his body, then his mind, psychology, discipline, strategy, money, systems. He didn't seek motivation. He built habit. At school, the bullies noticed nothing. They still laughed. That was good. 5. Losing while learning. After graduation, Alexander entered the real world and lost. Jobs rejected him. Interviews dismissed him. Confidence still didn't come naturally. He worked small jobs, took insults from supervisors, watched louder, stronger personalities climb faster. Once a coworker smirked, "You're too soft to survive here." Alexander smiled politely, went home, trained harder, studied longer. Strength wasn't just muscle, it was resilience, patience, and understanding how power actually worked. The hidden advantage of being weak. Years passed. Alexander noticed something others didn't. Strong people relied on being strong. Loud people relied on being loud. But weak people, people like him, learned systems. He saw how companies failed, how leaders ignored quiet warnings, how arrogance blinded strength. He built solutions. Slowly, privately. His first attempt failed. The second almost broke him. The third worked. Not explosively, reliably. When the weak returned, changed. A struggling company called him for help, a consultant referral. Alexander walked into the office calmly.
Inside were people he recognized, former classmates, former bullies, former voices of laughter. They didn't recognize him at first. Same quiet walk, same reserved tone. Then realization hit. Wait, you're Alexander? You? The weakest guy? They smiled awkwardly. Alexander didn't react. He presented data, numbers, systems, solutions. The room fell silent. Power without noise. Alexander fixed what they couldn't, cut losses, exposed inefficiency, replaced ego with structure. People who once pushed him aside now waited for his approval. At the final meeting, a senior manager laughed nervously. "Didn't expect this from you." Alexander looked at him and replied calmly, "You expected weakness. You never checked depth. No shouting, no anger, just truth." The shift. Word spread, not loudly, but clearly. Alexander wasn't flashy. He was effective. He built companies, sold them, reinvested, grew quietly. His body changed too. Not bulky, but strong, grounded, unshakable. People stopped interrupting him, stopped mocking, started listening. The weakest boy no longer needed to prove strength. His presence did it for him. The reunion. At a school reunion, Alexander almost didn't attend. Then he remembered the equipment room. He arrived late. People turned. Not because of clothes, but because of confidence. Conversations stopped. Someone whispered, "That's him, right?" A former bully approached, laughing nervously. "Man, you've changed." Alexander smiled gently. "No," he said, "you just never looked closely." Later that night, Alexander stood alone, thinking of the boy who never fought back, the one who endured, the one who was called weak. He understood something clearly now. Weakness was never the problem. Unawareness was. When the weakest becomes the strongest, it isn't loud. It's terrifying, because no one sees it coming. And by the time they do, it's already over.